Once again, I'm going to apologize if my hand's a little shaky, but I mean, it's kind of tired. We wanted to do the profile of what he was playing, so yeah.
Yeah, so this is Leigus. Hello, everyone. You never hear from me. So I was obviously playing Medolce today, denoted by this beautiful pudding cess token.
In the mat.
Yeah, and so my wonderful Medolce deck, meaning Volcanic Doomfire, because, the best card to run in a Medolce deck. But Doomfire came in handy. I cited him out sometimes. I cited him out pretty much every time I faced Necroz, just because I had better stuff to put in, but having a boss monster that also seeds Blaze Accelerator Reload is a good thing to have. I even had one guy that I faced, he was playing kind of an interesting sort of stun deck. Asked me, what's the boss monster, what do you go into? And, well, Doomfire. You just don't do it all the time because you have other ways of winning.
For your information, this is a pure Volcanic deck, in case if you didn't catch that.
Yeah. That'll probably be the title and the description stuff too.
Yeah.
But yeah, so pure Volcanic runs triple shell. Shell is part of your draw engine because you can just keep adding shells to hand, combos well with reload, which we'll get to later. Triple Scattershot. He is the burn control component of the monsters because when he's sent, he sends the other two Scattershots as cost to destroy all monsters they control, and then each one inflicts 500 when it's sent. 3 Rocket. It's your staple open. It's what recruits the reload out of the deck, gets that into play, and he's also a really good beater. Him being 1900 was a major component of inflicting damage and attacking over different Necroz stuff and things like that. Then we've got triple Royal Firestorm Guard. He's an excellent card. It's part of the reason that the pure deck works, is you just get so much good draw power off of him, and he keeps putting your shells and scatter shots, and sometimes you even put rocket back. But yeah, he's really good. Summoner Monk, because you don't always draw a rocket, and sometimes you want to, you really need to have a rocket first turn. And the other nice thing about Summoner Monk is, as long as you didn't duality, you can make an Xyz, so if you need to reshuffle with Emerald or send something with Chain, he's your main way that you'll end up with 2 monsters. Sometimes you'll end up with 1 Firestorm Guards and 1 Rocket, and you can go into one of those 2 Xyzs that way, but most of the time it's Summoner Monk. Magic Planter, super good, draw 2, put reload in the grave, also combos with the other continuous, so just kind of clean up draw power. Saw other people playing that, and there was a Harpy deck that was playing it, and stuff that runs continuous, you can run this really well. Triple Pot of Duality, consistency, keeps drawing stuff. The deck's built around drawing, so that helps. Triple MST. This is most frequently going to be a Summoner Monk target, just because there's not as much back row in this game, but if you face something like Satellar first, and then you don't have other stuff sided in, it's useful. I even blew up my own Blaze Accelerator Reload once, which won me a game, being able to put it in grave and then banish for Scattershot. 1 Wildfire. I'm probably going to take this out, but it was helpful sometimes. Helpful against Klee, because it's not a monster effect, and there were other times that wiping the field without a monster effect was good, and it gets the Accelerator to grave, so you can wipe the field again with Scattershot once it's in grave. Foolish, because Shell is a card. No further explanation on that. Book, because it's Book. Book does way lots of things. Fiendish Chain, because it's continuous, and it also prevents them from attacking, so preventing from attacking was important, and a target for Magic Planter was important. Blaze Accelerator Reload, it's the card that makes the deck work nowadays. So the way that this card works is you can, when it's face up on the field, you can once per turn pitch a Volcanic to draw 1 card, and then Scattershot gets an effect when he's sent, so the shell is just fodder for it, but you can also get Scattershot's effect off. And then the other thing that's really cool about it is if it's in the grave, you can banish it from the grave to send a Volcanic from your deck to your grave. So if you've got 1 in grave and 1 in field, you can send Shell to the grave to get a Shell to hand, or most frequently, you're using this as during your opponent's turn Regeki that also burns them. That's the good part about this deck. Like, the main play that it has is your opponent tries to do stuff on their turn. As soon as they've made every single summon that's not going to grant them protection of any kind, you just banish this, nuke the field, burn them. Super, super good. Triple Mind Crush, Heater Real MVP. The fact that you can now read your opponent's hand off of Mind Crush is just insane. Everything searches. It just...
Sorry
Mind Crush...
about the noise.
Mind Crush was almost never dead. It was just really, really, really good card. Especially with Phoenix Wing Wing Blast. I actually, 4 times during today, sent something to top with Phoenix Wing and then Mind Crushed it during the draw phase of the next turn. People got so salty. Ring, because it's Ring, speeds up the game, protects me from an attack, or rather, if I was going to be attacked, I'll just take the damage anyway, destroy the monster, inflict it to them. Warning saves your butt. I mean, there were a couple times when it was dead, because Volcanics, you're going to end up at low life points, but whatever. Vanity, I had the same problem as VO of I just don't know how to play Vanities very well. There were a couple times where it was very helpful, but I used it in the wrong order of a couple of instances or at the wrong point in a chain and ended up just getting it nuked several times, so. But that's on me. Vanity's still a really good card. And Debunk is just... I feel like pretty much every deck out there should main one Debunk, just because there are so many times where your opponent will send something to grave and you can just shut down what was about to be a really major play by debunking it. So, really great. Oh, and it stops Valor and other stuff that happens in hand. So, Debunk, great card. Extra deck. This deck almost doesn't run an extra deck. I mean, Lavalval Chain's important because you can send Shell, you can send even Blaze Accelerator Reload. If you're in a good position to do that, you can send off Lavalval Chain, so he's good. Dickasto Emerald you can use for the same purpose as Row Firestorm Guard, shuffling stuff back into deck. Castel gets rid of problems like Anti-Spell Fragrance, Royal Decree, and stuff like that. And then there's a bunch of other crap that I played because, you know, 15 card extra decks are kind of important, but none of this really matters. I only ever summoned these 3. I didn't even use the rest of the extra deck. You could also put in Dweller into this build. I just didn't have a Dweller on me, and again, I can't really think of any instance during the day that I would have summoned it, but those kind of situations do come up, so Dweller you can do. And you can also double up on the Chain, the Emerald, and the Dweller, because there are very rare cases where you'd use them twice, but those are the important ones. Side deck, TK Arrow, still a good card to this day. Never really helped me very much, because I only faced 2 Necros, and it's okay-ish against Necros, but because it can't stop the summons, you're only really getting the first effect, and then in Volcanics, it kind of starts to fight you, so there were many times where, like, I could have gotten TK Arrow off of Duality, but because I was worried about how it would affect me later on, I didn't. 2 Dark Hole gets you out of problem situations. There's a lot of stuff where, they have some card face up on the field, so Scattershot's not going to work, so it's good to be able to like fall back on Dark Hole. 2 Ojama
I won it to 3. So good. It was so
MVP. Ojama Trio messes with Necros so hard because they lose a lot of their recovery potential because they can't do the stuff from the grave because they control a monster now. BA, it just Shreks. There was even one time against Klee where I chained Ojama Trio to the summon of Disc, and they couldn't get the other 2 because they only had 1 spot open. That was really fun.
I got so lucky. Like, what is it? You flip it up against Yusenju, he's like, okay, I guess I don't get effects now.
Yeah. Probably one of the most fun moments of the entire tournament was when I flipped Ojama Trio against a BA. He used, what's his name, to get rid of one of them. What's the one that banishes?
Farva.
Yeah, he used Farva to get rid of one of them, so he ended up with 2 of them sitting there on the field, and I top decked the next Ojama Trio. So for like 4 turns, he was just sitting there, completely field locked with 5 Ojama Trio. I was able to just draw into all my side deck cards. It was great. Ojama Trio is excellent. Fairy Wind, because continuous stuff is in the game. Also helps fight Klee if you ever come up against Klee. Magic Cylinder, again for Klee, also helps in time. So if you're going, like, it's pretty much about to be time in Game 3 outside in Magic Cylinder. I actually won a duel that I was on the verge of losing because of Magic Cylinder. Defusion, never saw it, still a good card. Just Rex, Dolls.
Is that 3 Shadow Mirror and 1 Light Mirror?
Yeah.
That is exactly what I always play because I never have a second Light Mirror.
Well, I mean, this was mostly a thing of space, of I wanted to run all of the rest of this stuff, and Light Mirror, it's like, Satellar Knights, you would side in Light Mirror. I also did, instead of the 3 Shadow Mirror against BA, I did 2 and 1, because a lot of the time I was more concerned about Dante. Yeah. Game 1 I actually stopped 3 Dantes in a row just because I did not want the effect going on, so Light Mirror is helpful against BA. But yeah, Defusion, BA, if they're playing Mass Change second to go Dark Law, because Dark Law just wrecks you, so you need it for that. And then Heroes and Shells, because you can just mess up Fusion.
Anything you change about it? Besides the side deck?
Lots and lots of stuff. Yeah, the side deck, this is completely different from what I would now do as an approach to the side deck. I saw, there's actually DZ I was playing right next to. He was running Triple Reckless and Temple of the Kings. I wanted to play Temple of the Kings in this deck, but I just couldn't justify it, but I feel like the Reckless kind of does, so that's something I'm going to experiment with, but I'm not sure. I'm going to play around with it.